Okay. Now I have two books here. One I'm going to kind of not read from, but well, I guess I will read from. For centuries, well, anyone that's a witch knows that the history is not very good. Now, back in the ancient times, the kings would even have a witch, or back then they were called seers, in their court to let them know, per se, whether to go to war or not, if they were going to win or not, or they could be called oracles, whatever you want to call them. Just the term witch always sounded so bizarre, that word itself was bad, just like your middle finger really isn't a bad finger. It's useful, it needs to be there, but whenever you use it a certain way, then it's considered bad. That is what society has made it bad, is what I'm trying to get at. And even back then they did the same with what's going on nowadays. Can you imagine what even the medical field, everybody in the medical field right now, the doctors, the surgeons, every one of them that could heal or knew how to, the pharmacists that can combine herbs and create a treatment or a cure for a disease, would have been called witches. Yes. So it's amazing how far everything's come, and it's just because, I'm sorry to say this, and there's no other way to put it, but humans aren't as ignorant as they used to be. And I think a lot of them back then were jealous because they maybe didn't have that kind of knowledge. So if they didn't have it, oh my, it must have come from the devil, because they were worshiping their Lord, and he's the one that gives out that sort of knowing. I don't know everything in the world. There's a lot of people out there smarter than me. So be it. But that's really how a lot of them felt back then. And as I said, most of you know the history of witchcraft. And there was a turning point to where it became bad after the Christian movement, after the death of Christ, Jesus Christ. Then that's when shit hit the fan for the witches, or so-called witches. Now, nowadays, a lot of us define ourselves as witches. We will come out and say, yes, I'm a witch. Okay, and I wonder sometimes if that's because we indeed are, or some of us are intrigued with it and just want to call ourselves witches. Once again, the way of the witch is not all about casting spells. It's not about just, going out and cursing people. There's so much more involved. And in the long run, in our first and primary objective and goal and duty is to protect this earth. We are the earth's keepers. We are the keepers of secrets, because can you imagine if certain people got a hold of some of these secrets, what they would do with them? As usual, it would be catastrophe. So I'm going to go back in time to some of these, and I have to laugh about it. I will laugh about it because it's so ignorant, I mean, I cannot fathom being back in the 1600s during the witch hunts when all these people were killing these innocent women. Most of them were women. There were a few men that were executed, but they were actually killing them. You know, I mean, it don't make any sense. Um, and in reality, our religion is to take care of the earth and everything on it. And we use the powers to be, whether it be nature, parts of nature. Some of us, you know, have different gods and goddesses. Um, it's a matter of personal belief or what you feel you fit in um, better with. You know, it's like anything else. Where do you fit in? Um, Whenever I first started doing these videos and I was telling the newer witches coming up, just because the older witches will sit and tell you something, yes, I'm not saying don't listen to it because they've been around a long time. We pretty much know what we're talking about. It may not sound um, perfectly correct to everyone else, but we know, and it works for us. Doesn't mean it'll work for you. It means it's a basis to build your own craft on. Um, Now there are some things out there that are a must. You know, um, you can't mix water with oil. I don't care how good of a witch you are, you can, but what for? You know, you see the metaphor I'm making. There, most witchcraft is pretty lax. It's a craft. You work on it. Um, you experiment. You learn what works for you, and that makes it never ending fun. You know, it's work, but it's also fun. Um, and what's even better about it is you get so in tune with yourself, your capabilities, the earth, the animals, your the weather. You know, you just everything. You feel that oneness that you are with the universe. I know that sounds like, you know, a major faux pas, but it's the truth. You feel connected. When we say go outside and ground yourself, know the earth, put your feet on the earth, release all that stress and everything into that earth so it can be recycled and brought back up as good energy. Um, and if people don't believe in it, so be it. You know, we're not like some people, not saying we don't go out and shove our craft or our religion down people's throats and say we're the only ones. We're very open. Fine, go do as you will. But no, I choose not to participate. It doesn't make you a bad person because you don't have the same religion as me. See, we think that way, but others don't think that way about us. They're like, no, you worship the devil. Blah 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 blah. You know, y'all all know you've been there. Okay, now I have probably showed y'all this book before. It's just a handbook of magic spells and potions, and it's from Anastasia Gray Wolf. Okay, it's a beautiful book. Now I honestly don't know if this was written, uh, rewritten, should I say? Um, Now you have to understand the craft was young back then, just like anything else, you know. And I'm not saying that it's wrong by no means. It was a basis. It was a start in the witchcraft. I mean, these spells, some of these that I'm about to read you, or incantations, or whatever, are extremely old. Okay, and some of them will honestly make you laugh. I just cannot believe that that some of these. Some of them I just it makes no sense to me because we just don't do stuff like this. Not true witches. Um, Now I'm not going to say back in the old days, you know, back in the when the Bible was being written, even, you know, the big thing was sacrificing. You know, let's go kill this calf and give it to whatever god you may be worshiping or whatever at the time. Uh, Number one, I couldn't kill it. I just couldn't do it. And most of us nowadays, I'm not saying some don't, but most of the witches nowadays do not go and kill animals and sacrifice them. We just don't do that. For one, we're extremely sensitive and tenderhearted creatures, 99.9% of us, and we couldn't kill an animal if we wanted to. I couldn't. I'll speak for myself. I could not do it. I just couldn't do it. But for instance, um, that no witch may leave a church. Okay. And like I said, y'all are gonna have to excuse me when I do this because I just find it so amusing. I really do. Um, First of all, I know witches that go to church simply because it's their family time. The rest of their family believes in Jesus Christ and that path, and they respect that and they go with them. Nobody knows that she's a witch. Maybe her husband does, but the pastor of the church sure doesn't. Or I wouldn't think he does. Um, it doesn't. It has never bothered. I was brought up in church, or I wouldn't think he does. Um, it doesn't. It has never bothered. I was brought up in church. It has not ever bothered any witch to go into a church. It does not scare us. We are not going to burst into flames when we walk through the door. I assure you that it is not going to happen. Um, it's just really funny how they all believed back then. Okay, that no witch may leave a church. Okay, so that no witch may leave a church, purchase a pair of new shoes, grease them on Saturday with the grease on the outer sole, then put them on and walk to the church. And no witch can find the way out of the church without you proceeding before her. Now, does that make any sense to you? Now, can you imagine living back in these times? Um, I would have been burned instantly just for laughing, probably. I mean, but things were so serious back then that you better not laugh, or even chuckle, or even let anybody even think you may be making fun of that path. And it's not making fun of it, that path, it's making fun of the people that write these stupid things. Really? Oh, yeah. And that's just one of a lot of them. Okay. To kill a witch who is killing cattle. Okay. If a witch is found to be killing livestock to effect her death, perform this charm. Obtain a piece of the heart of the cattle that has been attacked. Then take a little butter and fry the piece therein, as if preparing for eating. Then take 3 nails from the coffin of a corpse and pierce them on the heart through and through. Piercing the heart and killing the witch are facts of the same moment. All will be correct at once. Okay. Okay. Now, there's already so much wrong with this. I mean, where do I start? Number one, we're not even going to call this person a witch. We're going to say if this individual went out and killed a cow, it's probably because they were hungry. It doesn't necessarily mean that they had to be witches. Yeah, they might have should have gotten in trouble for stealing cattle. What we now call wrestling. But really, Okay, and then on top of all this, the cure for it, or to get rid of this witch, you are going to go and desecrate someone's grave to get the nails out of their coffin, pretty much desecrating the body in the process. Huh. Does any of this make sense? No. It does not make sense. Anyway. Okay, now we're going to make a witch sick. To burn a witch with pock marks all over her body. Take butter from the household larder. Render it down in an iron pan until it boils. Then take ivy or wintergreen and fry it. Take 3 nails from a coffin of a corpse. There we go. Desecrating a grave again. Carry the mass to a place where neither the sun nor moon shines into and leave it there. And the witch will be sick for half of the year. Okay. Now, is this not hypocrisy in the works? Okay. What do we do when we make say a tincture, or if we're making, usually we'll mix it all up really good together and then we put it in a dark place, right? Now, is that not what did that not sound like witchcraft to y'all? What they specifically said to do? The Christian people said this. Stick them in that sauce, carry the mass to a place where neither sun nor moon shines into, and leave it there. And the witch will be sick for half a year. See? I'm sorry, people, that's witchcraft. And this is coming from Christian people trying to get rid of the witches. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about this stuff. Against fairy influence, a Gaelic spell. I don't know. I'm just not even going to go on about it. But and I'm really not trying to make fun of this person that wrote this book. It's Anastasia Graywolf that wrote this. Now, I don't know if she wrote it or if she just pretty much gathered these old spells, and I'm sure she had to have found them someplace else and recopied them. And there may be some of her own in there. I haven't read the book completely through. And I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying that these spells don't work. Not the way that they were, the Puritans or whatever they were that thought these things up, intended them to be or to do. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's amazing now how, everybody wants to become a witch. But I don't think that they're ready to live the witch life. It doesn't, as I always say, it does not happen overnight. You don't just automatically go in there and light candles and things start happening. That's why they call it the practice. Because even the older witches, even the ones that have been in it for all our lives, like me, we still don't know it all. We still move things around to get certain things to work that didn't work another way, and it will always be that way. Not one of us will ever have all the answers and be perfect at it. You can get pretty dang good, but it's not meant to master. Does that make sense? The universe is so vast. It would be ignorant, stupid, uh, very vain to think that you could possibly, in this human form, with this human mind that we have, store all that information and use it all the time. You know, that's why we never stop learning. You'll learn as you go to take and pick what suits you. You know, certain spells that you remember that you may use more than others. Um, and that's why at the first of my videos, I would say, learn to write your own spells. It makes it more personal that way. Um, you become, by even doing something that simple. Well, it's not always simple, but doing something like that, you would be surprised how close it brings you to yourself and your craft. You merge together that way. It's pretty cool. Um, you get to know things about yourself that you didn't know before. You know, and I have to tell you that sometimes some things that you do, or some feelings you may experience, um, may actually scare you, especially at first, because you're going to start, once you open yourself up to this information and this sort of power, you are going to be on a whole different level than most people. You're going to look at things completely different. Um, you're going to feel things that nobody else does. And honestly, I believe that's why a lot of us witches have a lot of anxiety. Now, there's ways to calm that. Grounding is one of them. Our protection baths is one of them. Because once you open yourself up to this information, you're also opening yourself up to other things that aren't so giving and welcoming. Some things can actually bother you, um, that your human mind cannot comprehend. So it scares you. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, before I get off on something else, this right here, I swore I'd never have this book in my house. I swore I would never have it anywhere. In fact, to me, it should be burning in my cauldron. But it is a part of history. Okay. Um, this just should go as a reminder to the witches and the ones that killed the witches, for it to not ever happen again. Um, you just don't even understand how upset, and to the point of almost pure rage, that I feel when I started reading this book. And I still have not gotten all the way through it. I wanted to read it just to say that I had, that I might see their side of why they were so awful to these women. Um, I cannot condone it. I can't find any reason except for stupidity that it was ever put into play. And this, yes, this is a book now, but this was reality for our ancestors. Um, they were tortured. You know, 99% of them was help people. They had good hearts. I could go all day about that. But to me, um, if there is a hell, as the Christians put it, then everyone and anyone that lit any fires to any of these women should be burning there, right? And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I do get very upset about that book. I mean, that's the past, and that's what I want to deal with now. Now, we still to this day get ridiculed, whatever, just don't put your hands on me. The way the world's going right now, one day the witches may save the world, so better not be bashing them. They may save your life one day. But anyway, there's all kinds, and that's what I was, I could sit here and go on and on about some of these books. Some of them are just so ridiculous, they really are. Like there's a spell, some of them are just not necessary. Like this one, for instance, to attract bears. Really? You need a spell to attract a bear? How about putting out some food, cooking with a window open out in the country? You're probably going to attract a bear. I mean, I don't know. It amazes me how some people are just, I don't get it. But that's what I'm getting at. I mean, you have to, and this is in every aspect of life, you don't have to be a witch to use this. I mean, if something doesn't make sense to you, I don't care what it is or what it's about. I can think of a lot of things right off the top of my head, but I'm not going to say them because I may offend people, and I don't mean to. I'm just making statements, but it may hit home with some people, and I'm not on here to do that. So, but yeah, just like, okay, let's say a female was single, okay, and it could be because maybe she wasn't, maybe her family wasn't upstanding in the community, so therefore nobody wanted to marry her. Maybe she, was poor. Maybe she wasn't too pretty, to look at. So these women were, they had to live on their own. They had to learn to grow their own gardens and feed themselves because they didn't have a man to do it back then. And back then, it was important to have a man to be married, and the man took care of everything. Nothing like it is now. Most households, both parents work. This is the way it is nowadays. But back then, the woman depended solely on the man. And if you didn't have one, then you must be a witch. Or if you're out there growing your own stuff, women weren't supposed to have that kind of knowledge. So she must have been conversing with the devil and he told her how. It's just ludicrous, I mean, and people were actually killed for this. Or a woman be walking to the market to buy seed or whatever she was doing, and her being single, and say a married couple walking down the road and they pass her. Well, the man, of course, is going to turn around and go, thinking she was attractive, pretty, and the wife sees it. Boom, she's a witch. She's automatically accused of being a witch and probably burned at the stake because her husband looked at that woman. Not because she was a witch, but because her husband looked at her. Every one of those people back then, like I said, that struck a match or condemned these women to death should have been burned too. Every one of them should have been set on fire because they're nothing but murderers. Whatever name they did it under, whether they're God or law or whatever, it's still murder. It doesn't matter how you look at it. And I have to be careful on that subject because, as you can tell, I get pretty fired up. I really don't even like thinking about them poor women and how they were treated. Um, but nowadays, it's not as bad. Yeah, we've got some that will mock us, or make fun of us. Okay, and that's when you need to be secure in your own craft and your own soul. Don't let them sway you. And if they do, you need to study more or dive deeper into yourself to just make sure this is the path you want to be on. Because it's not an easy path. You know, life isn't easy, and everybody knows that. And we see things happening right now. Everything that's going on. Um, I think a lot of the witches, everybody is pretty much homebound right now, or something like that. This is an excellent time to study your craft harder. Um, Read your books. You can research things online, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and listen to the elder witches. Do your own research. Look up history. The history of witches. It's so vast. I don't even know how to describe to explain it to you. Um, I just don't know where to start to tell you to look. There's so much information available, especially nowadays. Books, the internet, shows, even. I was watching a show the other day, and I'm not going to say the name of it, but it was amazing. It was about witches, and it was actually amazing how much somebody did their research whenever they made that movie, because a lot of it was right on point. um, it wasn't, stupid stuff. It actually made sense. It was actually a lot of things that we follow and that we do. So I like watching stuff like that, even though it's still a movie, but it's entertainment. What do you expect? Like I said, I'm not trying to make fun of these books, but you new witches, I can almost assure you that none of these spells will work. And if they do, you let me know. If you have this exact book, I think it's a beautiful book. It's hardback. The decoration on it is beautiful. Um, and like I said, I think it's just a reproduction of something that was an old book of shadows that someone supposedly found somewhere. I don't know, but none of it makes sense. But it probably did back then. See what I'm saying? Even our craft has evolved. We've gotten smarter. Or I should use a different word there. We've gotten more in tune to where we have figured out things that work and don't work. Um, I get asked a lot of times, do we really ride brooms? And I think I've brought this up before. No, we don't ride brooms. It is not feasible. You cannot ride a broom around. Um, I mean, really, you're going to ask somebody that, and to me, I don't know if they're just being facetious. If they really are dumb enough to think we do that. I'm sure those of us, that take the flying woman are pretty sure we're flying, but in reality we're not. Um, we don't walk through walls. I cannot tell you how many questions I've been asked that I just had to go, really? You just asked me that? What do you think? And a lot of times I feel like, having fun with them, going, oh yeah, we do. Whatever, let them believe whatever they want to. Um, like as I said, it's really a religion of the earth, um, or not even necessarily religion. It's we're just part of it. I don't even separate myself from nature anymore. I just feel part of it. and you will too as you go on in your path. Now, as far as the deities go, um, if you have not found one yet, depending on how long you've been studying the craft, um, I guarantee you, if you study them in whatever pantheon, there's there's so many different pantheons. I mean, you've got the Irish, the Celtic, which I'm actually Irish, but for some reason I was never taught um, the Irish traditions or the Celtic traditions. I know Bridget. She is in there on my altar right now too, um, or in my witch room, my altar room. There's Norse, and of course, the one I follow is Greek because that's the one I'm familiar with. That's one I've studied my whole life. So, and you've got several others, the other, um, what I would call foreign because they're not here in the United States. They're like Buddhism and why I better not say that's a craft, but it's a religion. Then you got Wicca, and their gods and goddesses, and um, there's just so much. That's why I always stress to make sure that you do your research and know what you need to know who you are, what you expect to get out of the craft, and the rest will pretty much come easy. If that's the hardest part is figuring out who you are. Believe it or not, you will find you are more complex than you ever thought you would be. Whenever you go tearing yourself apart and putting yourself back together to find out where you need to be. But it is kind of funny some of these things, I just I don't understand a lot of it. But I don't know. Some of them in here are kind of like some of ours, like to curse an enemy using a mirror. Okay, now we do have a mirror spell. Um, where we put the mirror in the box, and the way I did, I'll put a petition with the person's name on it. But that's in a whole nother video. Y'all can look that up. But yeah, witchcraft has come so far, and I am really so glad that nowadays we can practice the way we want and get together and do our own thing and not get burned for it. It's really such a peaceful um, craft, a religion, whatever you want to call it. It's a peaceful existence if you do it right. But yet it's also nerve wracking. Should I put it that way? Because you start to think that everything is your problem. All the world's problems is your problem. Every poor animal out there that is being abused or left behind or doesn't have a home or needs to be fed, you start to feel that's your responsibility, and it gets so overwhelming because there's so much of it going on. Um, that's when you need to ground yourself. That's when you need to take a step back and go, I'm only one person. And even this one person can't do all that, you know. That's actually when it's good to be part of a coven or have your own little coven that you can call upon, not necessarily every week, and I would even call it a coven, a group of friends that are witches. That if you need help, you need more energy put into something, then you can call on them and they can help you do that. But me personally, I don't do covens. Um, Maybe the one that I was in when I was really young just ruined me forever. But to me, it's a busybody thing. The coven that I was in, everybody was always in everybody's business, you know. Oh, well, so and so. I mean, honestly, they were worse than the Christians. I mean, a Christian will see you, wearing shorts or whatever, and they're like, oh, God don't like it when you do that. Okay, well, these witches were the same way, doing the very thing that they left the Christian path for doing, for them doing. And I just found it to be so annoying. It wasn't peaceful. It did not help my life in any to be part of that coven. So I chose to leave it and never went back. It did not change who I was, but if that's what being in a coven was like, then I just decided right then and there would never be another coven in my life unless I was in charge of it myself and made sure that all of my members knew we're not here to judge you. We just don't do that. That is why we're witches. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Now, I understand if some of the covens have certain rules or their reads that you follow, but you're usually told that when you first go in, and I may have a few rules, but it's not anything that's demoralizing or anything like that. It would be to protect the coven as a whole. It'd be more like a secret, don't tell people where we meet, not because what we're ashamed of what we do, but because we don't want a bunch of outsiders. We don't need an audience, or a bunch of people making fun of us or taking pictures and blasting our names and faces all over the newspaper. That's not what we're there for. We're there to do a ritual, whatever it may be, and we just don't need it. So that would be probably one of the very few rules that I ever had. But it's mainly to protect the coven, to stuff like that. So anyway, I guess I'll go. I've been on here long enough just rattling on. And I guess everybody's asleep. I was hoping I would be able to talk to some of you. I haven't got to talk to y'all in a while. But I will let you go. And if you have any questions, I'm not going to do any more herbal videos unless I come across one that really intrigues me, or I'll find out something that needs to be said about it. Or if I'm asked to do one about a certain herb, then I will be glad to. But I've done plenty of them, and as I said, I could go on forever. It's like kind of like doing one with crystals. You know how many crystals there are? You can go on forever with that too. So I'm pretty much just going to come up with my own ideas for my videos, but I would love your input. I mean, I don't know what you want to hear unless you tell me, or what you may want to learn unless you let me know. But I miss you guys, and I hope I'll try to come back on here tomorrow night, or should I say tonight, and maybe we'll be able to chat with some of you. I miss you guys, and thank y'all. Bye-bye.